Have you started the recording?
I have.
Okay, good.
All right, here we go. Welcome to our Utah OSR Land Co-op House Plan Review. This is the second one we've done. And tonight, we're going to review the initial house plans for Joseph and Kalia Skelso. And our reviewers tonight are Stephen Cook, who's a building contractor from Salt Lake, and Philip Gleason, who's been a contractor here in Utah and now lives in Orem. Who wants to start?
I have just a couple of questions for Joseph and Kalia. Which direction is north on your blueprint? Is that the top of the page?
Yes.
Okay, great. And the second question is, what is your exterior walls made of? We're going to be made.
That's what we're going back and forth on. Tentatively, we're talking rammed earth for the exterior. And then we were considering the wood copper that you talked about for all the interior walls.
Actually, you don't need those on the interior walls. You only need that for your footing and foundation.
So if we had a basement, it would be down there?
Yeah. Now,
But then we would need regular wood on the regular walls?
yeah. Now, your rammed earth, you know, takes a lot of labor. And if you hire that out, it costs about 25% more.
What we were wondering is the gentleman that was on the one of the videos that talked about making the rammed earth bricks all consistently with his machines and stuff down in Mexico and Colorado.
Okay, yeah, you're probably talking about John Day.
Yes, yes.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, you can make a lot of bricks and you can get people to help. Well, if you can get people to help you, you can do the bricks. And depending on the composition of the bricks, then you find out what the compressive strength is and you have those tested. And then from those test results, then Drew Downmuller will be able to give us the dimensions of the wall, what we need to create them, how big to make them, and what type of structural entities to put in them.
So we've basically been going back and forth. We go back and forth from rammed or the wood, you know, the copper wood stuff. And we honestly don't know because we're trying to figure it out.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, those are two good possibilities. And Steve, kick in here anytime you feel like it.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'm just kind of listening and assessing what they're after.
So
Okay.
the solar stuff is what's confusing us. And so down at the south end or at the bottom is where we've got a 6x16 sun porch, basically, that you would come in over here to the left. And then that arched doorway is like a 6 foot wide, just to allow opening to see the plants or whatever that we have in there. So for solar though, I would think we would need vents off that sunroof into the house, or would that door be sufficient?
Actually, your sunroom there on the front end is not big enough to create enough solar for the size of home that you have there.
The 6x16?
Yeah, the north end, but you wouldn't get any sun coming in the north end because that would be the shaded side of the house. So
Well, I've actually considered where we're saying south, have that kind of more southwest, and so the top would be more like northeast.
yeah, see, you need more aperture for the size of home that you have there. Now, if you just had that reversed so that you had that north side there was all open or was all greenhouse or atrium or whatever you want to call it, then you would have then you'd have enough sufficient. Or you can just make your front bigger.
Okay.
So, but you need more aperture, and yes, you will need enough vents to circulate the air, because that's the biggest problem. Most people don't put enough vents in, and they don't create it so that you have your chimney effect that will actually cause the air to move.
So where we have windows over the sink and then that cabinet over at the end where the longer side is, would not be enough of a draw. Yeah, would not be enough of a draw there. And then we've got a door back here. Would we put floor vents so it would vent up from the basement?
The basement or the crawl space, whatever you had underneath there. Just looking at what you've got here. Okay, so your south exposure, and you might make some notes here. On your south exposure, you're going to need a larger aperture, which means more windows.
Okay. Well, okay. So we have one, two, well, we got all the windows around the sunroom. We would move that out. We got windows, 2 windows, a big, where it's got a seat in it window, bay window, and a regular window. So we do not have enough windows there at all then.
No,
Okay.
you'll need at least double that.
Okay.
And so are you kind of suggesting, in a sense, to basically go from here to here with the sunroom, just make the entrance coming in from over here, but this whole thing become the sunroom?
Yeah, you could still have your entrance there where you've got it. And I would probably put a bigger window on your bedroom. And you'll want, here's a couple things. You need, first of all, your aperture, which allows the heat to come in. And of course, you'll want your extended roof line to come over so that during the
Correct.
summer, when the sun's higher up in the sky, your roof line provides shade. In the winter, when the sun comes down closer to the horizon, see, then it can shine in there. And then that wall, you want either that wall to be a tram wall. A tram wall absorbs heat, okay, holds the heat. It's like the battery that releases the heat during the evening. And so you need in the summer to be able to vent that room so that the heat is not pulled into the house, and you can actually bring cool air from the north side into the house so it can insulate. When you watch that passive solar webinar, you'll see the 5 elements, and the first is that you've got to have your aperture or where the sun's coming in, and then you've got to have a dark surface that will cause, because you can have a real heavy, thick tram wall, but if you put foil on it or paint it white, it's not going to absorb the heat. So you want to make that a dark color, or in other cases, they'll put water barrels, or there's actually a membrane that you can actually put on the wall that holds water to it and it heats up that water. So there's a lot of different things you can do. But so the first thing is you got to have your aperture of the windows. The second, you got to have a dark surface that will actually attract the heat. And then you've got to have the mass to store the heat, whether that's a floor or a wall or some rock or some water, something that will store that heat so it will dissipate during the night into the rest of the home. And then the fourth thing is you got to have your controls, okay? Like having your eave that comes over the top of your atrium, so it restricts the sun during the summer when it's hot, when you don't need the heat. And when the sun gets low in the winter, then it comes in underneath that eave and then comes through your apertures, and then that heat transfer. And then the fifth thing is your circulation. And one of the biggest problems people have on the circulation is they don't make the vents big enough. They anticipate, they're used to these 4x12, 4x14 vents that are in and you actually need 3 or 4 times that size. To give you an idea, say you get your circulation goes, but you've got that upper right bedroom in the very back.
Yes.
that will be a cold area unless you can get the warm air to come into that, coming either from up above, pulling it down, creating a vacuum, or in the summer when it's hot, you want the cool air from your basement to come up through there. But you see, that will be an area that you really need to be able to focus on getting your ventilation in there, especially if you've got a closet in there. So that's just a couple things to be looking at. Now, I do like the fact that, now is that an enclosed area on the top or the north
No.
side?
No, it is not.
Okay. Is it like a wall?
It's okay. We've got the two windows there, and then it's kind of like a deck. It could be
Okay.
covered deck, but it's not enclosed.
Okay, okay. In the summer, that'll be a real nice place.
That was the idea, yes. And
Yeah,
then that looks like a ladder, is really stairs to the basement.
gotcha.
And
So your
we would
basement
need-
will have access from outside and from inside, is that correct?
correct.
Okay.
And
Great.
the door on the other side is actually where the garage is going to be, starting back behind or where those two blue things are. Those are freezers.
Okay,
So
okay,
the garage actually starts right there and goes back, and that's doors coming off the garage and the other doors coming into the house. The rest is all open.
okay, great. Now, something that can help, is that a wall that's in that pantry area?
Yes.
With a door? Okay, the red, so there's a door
That-
right there?
So the yellow part is the walk-in closet. The orange part is the pantry from the kitchen with sliding doors, pocket doors.
Okay, so your ventilation is something that you want to really consider in those very back rooms, because what happens in the winter, they get cold, and then as things get warm during the day and that, you get condensate, and then you'll end up getting some mold.
And so the venting, if we put more venting coming up from the basement,
From the basement and from the ceiling, you got to be able to go back and forth. When you study circulation, you just
Right.
keep in mind heat rises. And so you utilize heat rising and expelling.
so we could vent above the stairs possibly there in the back, up out of the roof. And vent maybe through the pantry both.
And you can recycle that as it heats up in the greenhouse. It goes, instead of venting outside, you'll have it vent into the house. So you'll get a rotation of your air. It's called your air exchange rate.
Right.
And so, but I do like your layout. You've got a good layout here. It's just your very back bedroom on the upper right, and your closet and storage on the upper left will be areas that you need to pay particular attention to.
Trying to look at this from a simplistic standpoint, is it kind of like saying every room have an upper vent and a lower vent? Is that
Correct.
kind of the way to say it?
Yes. And you can utilize your windows. And so having windows that are, let's see, I think they're called a double sash. In other words, you can open the top of it or you can open the bottom of it. That's not a double sash. What's that called, Steve?
A single hung.
Okay, it's a double hung window. So you can take the bottom pane and raise it up, or you can take the top pane and take it down.
Okay.
Have you done any side views or side elevations is what they're called.
No, this is as far as we've gotten.
Okay. Steve, do you have any input?
Just some thoughts of things that we picked up on those greenhouses, like the GAT system that I think can be put in, you know, on a home like this, reasonably priced. That's a thought. The other is, I like what Jeff Weaver is working with the foam block system.
Right. The insulated concrete forms, or ICFs.
Yeah. I think that's an excellent thing to look at and consider. The other is hempcrete. I think that's something that would be worthwhile looking at and consider. So there's a variety of things. And again, what you're doing with your insulation, if you, depending on what if you're doing a frame house after you get above the ground. So there's a bunch of considerations there that could be looked at and kind of decide, you know, along with cost and you know, things like that. I was kind of looking at the wood foundations versus the foam block. And I think the foam block is going to end up being about maybe $2 more a square foot. So you'd want to look at that and decide, well, is this going to work better than that, or what are you trying to achieve there? So there's a couple of things there that might be helpful.
We were talking about that wood with the copper being the basement part. Is that what you're talking about?
Yes.
Okay, that's what we were talking about for the basement part.
Yeah, the only disadvantage with that is you can't put a rammed earth or these ICF concrete blocks on top of that wood foundation. You would have to.
Oh,
And the other advantage on the ICF or the permanent wood foundation is what it's called. The permanent wood foundation is that your footing can be made out of 3/4 inch crushed gravel, whereas you have to put in a concrete footing and the steel associated with it, with the ICF, or even with your rammed earth. You've got to get the rammed earth has to be up above the soil line.
right. So the ICF, that's the permanent wood, correct?
No, the ICF is insulated concrete forms.
Oh, okay. Insulated concrete. Okay.
And that's what Jeff Weaver specializes in. And I got to tell you, if your budget fits, that is an ideal way to go. If your budget is very, very limited, and that's the reason I'm going to do an 800 square foot home, 2-bedroom, is just because I want to show people what you can do, and it goes up really quick. So, but again, and you see, we'll be utilizing a 2x6 wall in the basement, and with the extra insulation on that, and then up above on the main floor, we use conventional framing, but the outside walls will actually be 2 2x4 walls with the studs on 2-foot centers. And so, and then on the inside interior, the outside will be a regular OSB and then probably a cement board siding. And then on the inside, we'll be utilizing either 1 inch or 1.5 inches the foil foam with 1/2 inch drywall on it. And seeing that foil foam takes my insulation value, which is in the 30s, and will actually put it up to almost 50, because the foil radiates the radiation of the heat that you would lose. A lot of people, they don't understand how much heat they actually lose through radiation. So you got convection, conduction, and radiation. Those are the 3 ways that you lose heat.
So the permanent wood foundation, you would not then use that for your outside walls as well?
Oh, yeah, I would, okay, you just use it and the part that goes in the dirt.
Only, okay.
And then when you get 6 inches above the dirt, then you can shift to just regular pine, stick framing. And on
So
my stick framing, we will actually be putting 2 2x4 walls with a 1/2 inch space in between it. Okay?
So
And
that's where your thickness would be for the absorption of the sun
right,
coming in?
it gives me the insulation that I need. So it protects me. Now see, my particular application is that I will create a wall with a different substance that I will be able to collect the heat in. And I'm still deciding on that trom wall. My trom wall will just be that one section of the south facing wall that's inside the greenhouse part, so to speak, or the
Right.
atrium. And that one I may be pouring concrete, a footing for it, and then either bringing rammed earth up, but I'll probably just pour concrete for that one section right there. That
So
one
you
section
only
wall.
need it, you
And-
only need it in one section, not the whole house.
Right, right.
That's the part that keeps confusing me. Okay.
So this is the reason, we do these previews so that everybody can start thinking about these things, because this is new to most people.
Yes.
And so, but becoming self-reliant, you need to understand how it works so that if you run into a problem, you understand the principle, and now you can create a practical solution for it.
Yeah, my dad had barrels with water and sand, I think.
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
it was like 30 some years ago when he did all of his planning, and it was glassed in with and then the vented down into the basement, and then huge vents up under the table in the kitchen brought the air up that way. And
There
it
you
was huge vents.
yeah,
Okay.
because heat rises, and then as it rises, you've got a place where it will cool, and as it cools, it goes down, and then when it gets heated, it'll come back up. And so you get your convection, which is
Right.
you get your circulation.
And I've been watching those videos, but it was not sinking in as to how that actually happened, because you even had the wind tunnel things up high on some of them.
Yeah, well, you see the wind
Would you
tunnel,
put that on a house?
that creates a chimney effect.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, when you go up and use those outdoor toilets that are out in the campgrounds,
Mm-hmm.
it's got the big black pipe going out the back.
Oh, okay.
See, that black pipe, first of all, absorbs heat. So it causes the air in it to rise. And also it's high enough so that the wind blowing over the top of it actually creates a vacuum. So it's sucking it. So when you're inside sitting on the throne, you can feel that air being sucked down, and then it's being vented out through that black pipe.
Okay.
And so you can use that combination. In fact, there's a lot of different ways to incorporate the chimneys. In fact, over in the Middle East, they will actually reverse the airflow, because what they will do is they will create a drip onto a mat. And so it works like an evaporative cooler. And so that warm air comes in, it picks up cold air or picks up water, which causes it to drop because now it's heavy. And then at the bottom of the tower, it's, excuse me, the bottom of the tower is wider than the top, because what happens when it takes that air that's now saturated with water and it puts it into a bigger space, it spreads out. So the heat is now less per cubic foot than it was up above. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so you can actually get the air rotating one direction or the other direction, depending on how you design it. In fact, they had some of those so effective, they were actually able to create ice out there in the Middle East.
Wow.
It's a fascinating history. They've been doing this for thousands of years.
So Joseph, did you have more questions?
I don't even know where to begin on some of this. It still feels like it's over my head.
Now, just take it a step at a time, guys. You got a good start on this. Now you want to start thinking about your circulation and how you're going to heat the air and how you're going to cool the air.
Okay, but we've got to get that, basically that sunroom bigger.
Yeah, your sunroom needs to be bigger. And where you're putting a basement in there, see, that's great because you got cool air down there. And like Steve was talking about, there's a system you can actually put underneath your floor, which you can even cool more air by using chambers, or you can actually bury pipes or the corrugated 6-inch stuff out behind your house and bring outside air in. So that's cooled because of the cooler ground temperature that's down 5, 6, 7, 8 feet in the ground.
Isn't that what that guy in Nebraska was using with his greenhouses, that concept?
Exactly.
It's something like that. They're a little bit different, but same principle, kind of a geothermal situation where you're drawing off heat, and in the summer you're drawing cooler air than what you have outside, and in the winter you're drawing warmer air than you are outside, because it's pretty constant if you get there at 6 or 7 feet, 8 feet. But that's kind of the idea.
So where we have the rocket mass heater there down at the bottom, the little red square, we were talking about doing radiated heat through the flooring. And then of course you'd have to turn that off in the summer. So we're actually needing to look more at how we're cooling it than how we're heating it.
Yeah, now your rocket mass heaters generally take a little more space depending on which model you're doing. Are you looking at a commercial model or making something?
No, home built. Just building it, I looked at the videos and it's like, this is not that complicated to build it. It just takes time.
Yeah. And that's an ideal place because you can make that part of your tram wall there.
But what I saw them do with it was inside of the mass, they ran their water lines for the floor and had the rocket mass heater warming the water in the coils and then circulating out through the floor.
Yeah, it's a great system. I've done that, but you have a single point of failure when you have to put a pump on it.
Okay, you lost me.
So, in other words, when you start putting the pipes in the floor, it won't naturally circulate. So you have to put a circulation pump.
Okay.
And a circulation pump requires electricity. And so that becomes a single point of failure for you. Now, here's a thought. If you're putting a basement down there, take and put your rocket mass heater in the basement, just down below what you have there. And then as you utilize that, you can heat up that air and that will rise up through those vents in the basement and you can heat every room in that house.
So we wouldn't even need to do the flooring thing, just put it downstairs.
Yeah.
Now that'd be a lot simpler and probably a lot less cost.
Yeah, I've seen lots of applications where they they had the old furnace down in the floor and then the big grates up above, and so the heat came up through. You've probably seen those in a lot of places. But for your rocket vent, see that mass down below at the bottom of that wall, that's a great place to.
So would we put the water heater down there as well, so that the rocket mass heater could help with heating that?
Well, actually, you could put your water heater up above because the hot water will rise. I've actually now I'm talking about a gravity flow situation.
Mm-hmm.
I heated my hot water. I heated my hot water in a wood stove, and I had a 5-gallon bucket up above it. And so just heating the water, I had a pipe that went into the stove and out of the stove, and both pipes went up into my bucket. And all the water that heated in that pipe raised up into the bucket. Gravity, I didn't have to do any circulation on that. The other thing is you can put a solar jacket up on your roof so that you can actually heat your water solar up on top, and you can get a little circulation pump or a couple things that you can do. It can be manual or depending on your solar system. But I try not to put my whole heating system based on some motor, because I know that motor's not going to work sometime. So, but with your rocket mass heater down there, and then you can set that up to heat up your water when there's no sun and it's cold. And then when you've got sunshine, you can heat up your water on the outside. Does that make sense?
The water heater would be on the roof?
No, you would have a, I guess you'd call it a panel. That's designed
Okay.
for heating water. You can actually put those on the side of your house.
Got it. Side of house.
So, but that's why we have these preliminary discussions. And then as we get more and more plans drawn up, you'll see also there's a solar home that we're making arrangements to go look at, a passive solar home that's over in San Pete County. And
That'd be fantastic.
I'll let you guys know when that tour is available. You may want to come and see that.
Absolutely.
So, but I like your open area here. Something else, some people don't like this, but in cabins and other places for the air circulation, they have windows either above the doors, the interior doors, or if they have sloped ceilings, they only take the walls up 8 feet and then it's open up above them. Now, there's not a lot of sound privacy that way, but it's great for air circulation.
A lot of your architecture, older homes, back in before the 50s, maybe back in the before 40s, they'd have transoms, just what Phil's talking about. You had windows that they basically could be open above the door, but the downside is the privacy of sound. So, but nonetheless, I think that was one of the reasons that existed at the time, was for that air circulation.
Yeah, my dad's house was an octagon house, and they did not make the walls go all the way up to the ceilings so
Yeah,
that the air
right.
would filter
Yeah.
through with that solar that he did.
Yeah, that's exactly the idea.
So every room actually was open to the outside, but the walls went up like 8 foot, it just didn't touch the ceiling.
Right. Yeah, it wasn't until they started getting, you know, the air conditioners and all these other types of mechanized air moving machines that they started enclosing everything.
And that's because they have what Phil's talking about there. That's where you have, in most of your rooms, you'll have a cold air return and a heat input into that room. And so, but it's all mechanical, and it's all subject to exactly what he said, that you have a failure, and particularly if things were going downhill, sliding fast, you wouldn't be able to repair any of that stuff. You wouldn't be able to get parts. And so the more that you can do with your home that is more of a natural, if you will, flow of air and stuff like that, and using heat and cold to make it move, it's going to be to your advantage eventually.
So is it clear as mud to you, Joseph?
Yep.
Well,
I'm
if you
scratching my
can-
head, but I don't want to lose any hair.
I mean, you've tackled some of the issues, so you just kind of keep plodding along in that direction, and soon you'll have all of the things put together that you've decided on that you like, material-wise and design-wise, and you'll come out with, you know, a pretty good home. But it does take just what you're doing. You know, there's some of the, like, you don't have any elevations, but that will come. Get this floor plan down, and that kind of thing, and then you just kind of keep working. It'll come together.
Exactly. You're learning things that some house designers and engineers don't know about, because they're so used to, okay, I got to go talk to the HVAC guy, and then he'll design it for me and put in the vents. I don't have to worry about airflow or anything. See, this is part of being self-reliant, is, okay, coming to understand the principles, and now you can start putting the applications to. And so when you start looking at the design on your barn or chicken coop, you can say, oh, okay, how can I make this more efficient and more hospitable for the animals?
Put them in the greenhouse.
There you go. There you
Actually, the barn and the greenhouse, when it was talking about things and showing how to make that solar, is what sort of made more sense to the house, is watching the barn and the greenhouse stuff.
Exactly. You know, most people don't understand cooling a greenhouse is a way bigger deal than heating a greenhouse. Because most greenhouses, they get too hot too fast, and people, they haven't made any preparations for proper venting or shading so that they can restrict that. But
Well, and you're adding heat to the house just by bodies, people being in there as well.
yeah, that's 400 BTUs, or the equivalent of a 100-watt incandescent light bulb. So that's when you got to fatten Joseph up a little bit so you can get more heat out of it.
Well, I
Well,
think
if we
that's
get-
probably about as much as I can comprehend this evening. I don't know about you, Joseph.
Well, I'm still rolling around in my head with this idea of open it up at the top, open it up at the bottom. And that's, I guess, a lot of what I'm seeing is make a space at the top, make an entry to the basement, and just keep following the thing all the way around.
There you go.
It's
There
like,
you go.
then it can flow from every room, whichever way.
Yeah. And so you can control the ventilation by opening and closing windows and doors and vents.
Got it.
And so it works out great. But I like your plan, guys. I like your good open plan. And you got a great start here.
Well, thank you for all the information. Like I said, it's going to have to roll around in there a bit. It's kind of overwhelming, but it's helped a lot. Like I said, the greenhouses and barns actually helped me make a little more sense of the house.
Well, cool, because that's what it's all about. And this is just a preliminary review.
Right.
It's like the peer method. You plan, you implement on paper, you evaluate, and then you re-implement on paper until you finally come up with a plan. And it's not a, you're going to flunk this. It's just you keep doing it until you pass.
Or we flip the house and put glass around the back part.
Okay, cool.
That might work actually better because we have so many things along there. A thick wall would work better.
Yeah. And you might extend your roof line out over that covered area where you've got your green. And you might consider, in the harshest part of the winter, being able to enclose that with some plastic.
Where are we talking? On this side here?
Yeah. Being able to enclose that because then you can keep things dry and out of the weather, and it protects a windbreak against that north wall, and we'll just, you can stack wood there. You can put a lot of things, have it enclosed, and
Okay.
and then in the summer you can take that plastic off because they use what's called wiggle wire. So you can put plastic up and take it down.
He does that already with our back porch.
Okay. That works.
Except the way I do it isn't that classy.
What are the dimensions of your house?
The right side is 26 foot.
Right here.
Across the front is 34 foot, I think.
I thought it was 48.
48, you're right. It is. It's 48. So 26 by 48.
So you're
And then on the other side where it's got the basement, it's 29 where the
Okay.
steps are. Yeah.
Okay.
So you're a little over 12, you're about 1250 almost.
Right.
1250
And plus you
square
can
feet.
include that sunroom out front.
Yeah,
And then that brings it to 1386.
and that's not counting the basement, of course.
Correct. And it's not going to be finished. It's just down there in case.
Oh yeah, it becomes a great storage area. So
If you have stairs in the front of the house and in the back of the house,
That front is outside. It's like you get two ways out of the basement for like
Right.
emergencies. One's on the outside, one's on the inside.
but if they were both on the inside, wouldn't that help with circulation?
oh yes, absolutely. Well, you don't have to have both of them opening so that you can do that, but you can actually, where you've got a window on that back side, you could put a window well there and take it down low so you could actually take advantage of that.
Yeah, that's like a exit storm door thing over it, and it goes down, and then you can walk into the basement. So that's kind of what I thought, Press.
Yeah, well, we were kind of figuring with two exits from the basement is like if something happened that's like you can't come out this way, it's too dangerous, you can get out this way, and it goes out of the building.
Smart move, smart move.
So that's why we plumbed it that way.
Yeah, I think that's great. And like Pam was saying, you can actually utilize those openings to help with your venting and
Absolutely.
circulation.
Yeah, absolutely.
You could actually have a window at the bottom of your steps, close to it, a window right in there, and then a window over here down in the basement area.
Yeah,
for
there's a window
ventilation.
above here and here, so we would then have one in the basement area, you're saying, as well.
Yeah. You may
Yeah.
not, do you start going down here or going down on this side?
Down where he's got the arrow.
Okay, so you start stepping down there. So
Yeah,
you'd have to have your window over
the
in
bottom.
this, yeah, over in this
Right.
part, because you wouldn't have room, obviously up here,
Right.
that's up at the top.
Right.
And then the same thing over here. You'd want your window somewhere in that neighborhood just before you come in through your door or.
Right. I was going to have a window well also over underneath where the refrigerator area is in that back green area that's open, and a window well over on the side at the right front bedroom.
Yeah, that would work good. Yes, this idea with two egresses and entrances is very, especially at totally opposite ends, really wise. And it's a prudent thing. Fire, whatever might happen, that you couldn't get out one, you could probably get out the other. Be unusual to be both blocked at the same time.
Yeah, you're required by code to have that double egress, the door in and a window out or a door out. In fact, there's even minimum size requirements for that. If it's going to be a living area. Now, if it's a storage area, they don't require that.
Well, it was going to be a storage area for the most part, but I also figured you don't know what the future would bring, that it would need to have it, and that's why we just have it planned.
Right. No, that's excellent idea.
Because it's easier up front than to try to figure it out later.
Oh yeah, especially when you're trying to get out.
Yeah.
So a couple things just put on your list. Be thinking about what you want to do for your siding and for your roofing. Metal is the cheapest. There's, depending on the budget, I mean, you've got your tiles as well as your asphalt. I like metal because you can also do water recovery, and they got good stuff, lasts over 30 years now. And so be thinking of the types of finishes that you want.
Okay.
Inside and out. And then the other thing, when you draw stairs, if you'll take and put an arrow with either a down or an up in the direction of the arrow.
Okay.
And that way, so when other people are looking at the plans, they can see better. And then,
Now those are that's a ladder. He just stuck a ladder there because he
I
didn't.
could not find stairs in this program.
no, that's fine. But it gives you the idea of what it is. But you can put an arrow just with an up or down.
Got it.
And then at the landing at the bottom of stairs, try to leave yourself 4 feet.
Okay.
You can make it corner.
Yes.
And then you need those stairs to be a minimum of 36 inches wide.
Where's your garage over? Does your garage encompass this stairs here?
Yeah, it got right there where he's drawing, and down here.
But
The
it
garage-
doesn't come,
The
it doesn't
garage
come,
is like 26 feet deep, 30 feet deep or wide.
okay, does the garage include this stairway?
No,
Okay,
no, it's where the 2 blue boxes are. Those are freezers. And so in front of that is where the garage door starts down there. There's
Yeah,
where the
right
garage
there.
door would
okay.
start.
And we're not even sure it's going to be an actual garage. It could end up being a well-closed carport.
The only reason I ask that is because sometimes it's really nice to have one of the egresses that takes off in a, let's see if this is north, so this would be, that goes straight out from the wall. That way, as you carry stuff down, you don't have to turn a corner. You come directly into your basement. I mean, it's not a needful thing, and if
Ooh,
it doesn't,
good idea. Yeah.
but it's kind of nice to have one of them that doesn't turn, especially the outside one, because if you're bringing stuff from your garden or your greenhouse, and you can come in and go straight down. And like I said, you don't have to turn the corner with furniture or anything else. You can go straight shot in.
Stephen, were you thinking of having the staircase inside their garage?
Well, that's why I was asking, but it wouldn't be necessary. I mean, it could turn, if the garage wall was where her arrow is, you could actually turn that around and go, and I'm not sure what, let's see, if you're north there, so you would be, that would be west, wouldn't it? The west side? Is that the west
Yeah.
side?
Yeah.
Yeah.
north- Yes.
You go directly west, parallel with the garage wall, outside.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could just, like I said, you'd have a sidewalk or whatever, you could walk right down and go right on down into the, but I mean, there's just little things like that, that not necessary, but just something to consider if.
No,
the
very
plan
good
is still
suggestion.
open.
Very good.
Well, guys, we've given you quite a bit to think about tonight.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, you're welcome, and we look
You
forward
bet.
to doing it again and taking it to the next stage. or the next phase.
Fantastic. Thank you.
All right, thanks everyone for participating, and we wish you all a happy new year.
Yes, thank you for putting this together, Jesse. Appreciate it.
Have a nice evening.
Thanks, Jesse. And
Thanks, Jess.